know if she thought that it got canceled since it's later, but I don't have her contact information, unfortunately. I'll let her know, but I believe this is going to be all there. I believe this is all there is today. Sorry, it's been a long day, long sampling day.
I'm ready to start recording if you're ready.
I think we're good whenever you're ready, Jane.
Okay. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Tonight's Inclusivity meeting, it's Tuesday, May 23rd, 2023 at 5:47, and we are ready to begin. In attendance tonight, we have Rose Bricker, Jessica Andrade, Christopher McMorrin on Zoom. Around the table, we have Van
Hunsaker,
I keep forgetting, Lori Lehman, Jane Sherwood, and Chris Workman. I knew that. Okay, so we do not have our minutes from our last meeting, so we will hold on to that and do the approval of April's meeting next month. We have no urgent business to take care of tonight. We have updates and announcements. I have an update that Ariana has, make sure that I've got that right, has officially withdrawn from the committee. She was originally signed up as our co-chair for the next 3 months, so we need to be thinking about possibly a co-chair at least for next month. Other than that, that's one of our updates. We have to take a look at our Independence Day proclamation. Do we want to?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Real quick. I believe Rose has an announcement, and if anyone else has any announcement.
Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. I just wanted to make another plug for Philomath Pride coming up on June 11th from 1 to 4 at the Randy Kugler Community Hall in City Park. We are able to utilize the pavilion to host community partners. And so on behalf of the Philomath Pride Collective, I would like to invite the Inclusivity Committee to either table or provide us with some sort of literature, flyers, swag, if we got it, to add to our table. But I really wanted to highlight the Inclusivity Committee and make sure that we get the word out that we exist and we're still here and we're trying. And then I do have some announcements specifically to the event. We are looking for volunteers. Specifically our need is to join the Pink Flamingo Brigade. That is our vibe checking peacekeepers that are going to be assisting us during the event. We will give you a pink shirt and an orange vest. So we are looking for people with knowledge in de-escalation, crowd control if you got that. Philomath Fire Department's going to be on site providing EMS care, so we won't be looking for anything medical, but looking for some good people that feel like they could fulfill that role.
Okay, thank you.
Could you remind me again of the date and time?
It's on June 11th, which is a Sunday, from 1 to 4 at City Park.
I already had that in my calendar. I thought it was the 12th and I didn't see it, so great.
Nice. And you can follow us on Facebook on Philomath Pride if you are interested in learning more about what we're doing.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. And then I guess just as a quick follow-up to that, I guess we should probably quickly decide whether we would like to provide like a brochure or like a little flyer or something like that. Thoughts from the committee?
Do we have a flyer already handy?
No, it would be something that we would have to create.
That seems like a short turnaround by the 11th.
Well, I personally don't mind creating something that has like a quick summary of like what our goals are, or and then stating when we have meetings, if people are interested and okay with having literature at Pride. And if anyone else wants to help contribute to it, that's awesome.
I was going to say, I think it's a great idea. I feel bad saying we should have it when I know that I do not have time to help. But if you are willing to take that on, that would be lovely. And I apologize, I'm not more free these days.
Yes, Jessica, I would have offered help as well, but I'm flying tomorrow. I'm catching the flight to the East Coast, so I won't be here. But anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I guess does everyone sound like it would be okay to have something like that? We could have the committee take a look at it at our next, wait, no, we can't at our next.
It won't work. Won't work.
I can email it out, and if anyone has any suggested edits, they can let Chris know, and Chris can let me know if there's any edits I need to make or something like that. Does that sound good?
Plan, yes, thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, so Jessica, I'm not sure how this is going to work. Then we have our Independence Day proclamation we were going to take a look at, and we don't have Zena with Van to discuss. We were going to look at that.
Well, let's start with the revisiting the training first.
Okay, training.
And then go into the proclamation. But Van was the person who he worked on it himself. So.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we have the.
Here, if I could really quickly just, I'll just introduce it really quickly. I've been in contact with Oregon State University and recently found out that they're only able to schedule trainings. I believe it's like Monday through Thursdays from like 8 to 4 or something like that. And I'm pretty sure council is going to want something on the weekend or in the evenings or something like that. So if that is the case, we will need to have a second recommendation. But we will be finding out at our next council meeting in June. These are the times that they said that they can schedule. Does that work for you? If not, we recommend this other thing, and then we'll follow up.
Okay.
So that is the story behind why we need to revisit it, unfortunately.
Okay. So that being said, then we have the Jedi training or the YWCA of Greater Portland to look at, and or the other choice, Exploring Identity, Culture, and Inclusivity by Dora Perry. We had those three, I think, that were.
Sorry, what was the third one?
I had highlighted in my previous info, Exploring Identity, Culture, and Inclusivity by Dora Perry. Maybe that was something that was just, we were looked at and just didn't get.
I don't think that was in there. In the
Okay.
In the most recent ones, I think all we have are the training from Western Oregon University, and then the training from the
YWCA.
YWCA, yeah.
Okay.
And the example, the things that are in the attachments are all just examples of some of the different classes and such.
Okay.
Remind me, the Jedi, is that from Western Oregon?
Yes,
That looked like a really lengthy training, like it's a class, right? A multi-week class.
6 weeks.
Or they can also do a version of it that's a 1 day, 6 hour.
Okay. I didn't see that.
That's more of an overview kind of.
Well, as I recall, when I'm the one that had looked up the YWCA, but the thing there was that they had, 40 different classes that they could give, and figuring out what that we would want. I guess I took that was one of the reasons we didn't pick that, and then, but where the Oregon State one was, pretty succinct, this is what we'd go through. The Western Oregon, and I guess I recalled it as the same way, that it could be a lengthy thing, but I guess I didn't remember the 1 6 hour. Do you think the council would go for 6 hours? Essentially a day. I guess to me it seems like, well, if it is that long, it must be fairly comprehensive, even not even knowing what it is. But so I guess I would suggest we do that as the second option, and then I guess let them decide which one they feel comfortable with. I personally would be comfortable with either one of them. That's my take.
So do we want to then, we're going the Jedi as our second choice?
No, I just suggested.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what else anybody else
Okay.
thinks. That was.
I really like the Jedi training, and especially that 1 day, 6 hour. I know it sounds like a big chunk of time, but if the council and participants treat it like a retreat where they're bonding with each other and trying to explore and educate themselves in a safe space or a trusting space, at least, I know it's a big chunk of time, but I think if we're voting, I like that 1 day, 6 hour workshop.
I don't see all the heads nodding.
The only other thing was the potential NAACP
Right.
involvement. I don't know where we kind of left off on that, but I know that was something we had talked about originally, and then Zena had strong feelings about it at our last meeting. I think it's something to look into. I don't know if we could get it in the next month and a half, but I just wanted to not let that be lost from the conversation. But I think I'm good with any of those other options for a more short-term thing. I do think we would need to talk to the council for I don't know the last city council meeting where we even had all city council members and the mayor at a city council meeting. So just trying to get them all for us, that's to get them for a couple hours, once a month, whereas this is 6 hours on a weekend or something, probably. I get it. I think, we should all be there, but I'm trying to be realistic that, I don't want to spend a bunch of money on it and then have half the people show up.
That's true. What is the time that you think is a reasonable request?
You're talking to me?
Mm-hmm. Christopher?
I don't know. I guess in my brain, just city council meeting length, at least then they don't have an excuse, which, those can go pretty long sometimes. But I'm not saying 6 hours isn't reasonable. I'm just trying to be pragmatic about what the response is that we might get.
I agree.
Do you think if we scheduled it like months in advance and like they kind of like held that spot on their calendar, we would get more committed participation day of?
I think that would probably be better than not doing that, but yeah. And I guess the question, like, because it would have to all be like in person, participation, because then I think that might also complicate it just with work schedules and everything. Again, not saying it's impossible. I think we should see sort of what we're able to pull off with that and how soon are we trying to do this. But yeah.
Jessica?
I appreciate you bringing up ACP. Oh shoot, sorry, earbuds keep out on me. I appreciate the NAACP reminder. So the last I know that I talked about it was with, or at least with getting information. I had told Councilor Crocker, since she had tried to schedule a meeting, go ahead and get that information if you have the time and capacity, so that when we are able to talk about it again, then we'll have that information. And she said that she didn't. So that's, if we had had that information, then we could definitely consider it now. But I think the fact that we're trying to do this and it's taken so long that it definitely will not be forgotten, and something that we can think about later. And as for the length of time, I don't think it's that bad. I agree that it is a lot, but for the quality of and the topic, I think it's necessary.
Okay.
Rose has got her hand up.
Rose, go ahead. I'm sorry. Thank you.
You're good. I was just wondering, maybe if we did a little bit of homework before kind of choosing. I know that it's been a while. I know we want to make this decision, but what if we surveyed the city council, like individual surveys, trying to get their feedback on the length of time they feel they could sit through a training, how far they want to travel, what months are better for their schedule, what days of the week are better.
So to clarify, that's something that we would find out, and if I heard correctly, because I was switching earbuds when that happened and might have missed some of it. I believe that's what we would be getting at our next meeting, and or over email.
So Jessica, do you know for sure that the one that we have scheduled will not work, or you're going to check on that?
Don't know for sure yet, but just based on the fact that about half of our council members have 9-to-5 jobs during Monday through Friday, and that they don't. I specifically asked, can we potentially schedule something on the weekend or in the evenings, and it might cost a little more, and he was like, we don't have the capacity for that right now. So
okay. I mean, I understand. I know that Matt's schedule can be flexible, so speaking for him as a counselor. So,
Are we just, are we trying to do this fiscal year, or is that not important?
It's this coming fiscal year.
So, okay, so it won't be before July 1st.
No.
Then I'll be much more flexible.
Yeah, I think that either of those two options, I think the council should be able to, if a person doesn't really care and they don't want it, they're not gonna try, or they don't want to try, then they may not show up to anything. And I'm not suggesting anybody would be that way, but I mean, that's just kind of how it is. So I would think that collectively, with either one of those options, they should be able to find something that everybody can attend unless somebody ends up sick at the time or whatever. So I guess I think those two different options should be fine. And that they, the council should be able to find a time essentially in the next year, but I mean, obviously sooner better, to find a time that they could do it. And that's just my thought anyway.
Thank you. So then we will add the Jedi information to the next meeting.
Yeah, to present to council
Yes.
as an option if they agree that they don't want to schedule what OSU has to offer.
Okay. Okay. So that is that. So then our next task and business is our Independence Day proclamation.
Okay.
Dan, you've got the floor.
Okay, thank you. This independence, I went online looking for them, and I ended up with this. Actually, most of it is from in Alaska. The governor of Alaska made the proclamation. There is, I forgot to bring my copy of it. Does either, that I can borrow? The first, the first three paragraphs I did nothing to. There was the fourth paragraphs, I added or changed it. They talked a lot about the armed services, which is okay, but I was trying to remove something to put more in, or more what I wanted to put in, I guess you could say. But this, whereas we recognize that an imperfect people, we as a nation also are imperfect, and throughout our history, Americans have been unwavering in their efforts to build and improve and preserve a country of liberty, peace, and opportunity for all. It's part of what that was in there, but I changed it to talk about that we're imperfect. So that, you could say that's what I was trying to say, is that as a country, we recognize we're imperfect and that, we need to try and do better. And like I say, what would have been the fifth paragraph, I took totally out because that was totally about the armed services. And there is a sentence up there earlier that talks about that, which I think is important, but I just felt like to get on one page, that was, I guess, more than we needed. So that's where I come up with this. I did pass it on to Chris and the mayor also, and they didn't make any changes other than I did have it for the mayor to sign. And the mayor said, well, it should be the city council, or I guess it should be the common council technically. So that's what I come up with. And, any comments on any of it? Or what did you think?
Yeah, those look good.
I liked how it read. I think it covers our city nicely. It gives, a general idea of what we strive for, especially on Independence Day.
Okay. Christopher or Jessica, Rose, any thoughts?
Jessica?
I wonder if it would be, I wonder if we should say something about how not everyone was free at that time, like a reference to Juneteenth. I don't know, I don't have a suggestion for exact words, but that could, if people were interested in that, we could workshop that and talk about it at the next meeting.
I like that
What
idea.
do people think about that?
Well, this would be, we wouldn't have time before the next meeting. We need to.
It's for the July city council meeting.
No, it would be, well, I don't know. Well, I guess I don't know how you do it. You would, if you waited to the July city council meeting, that'd be after Independence Day.
We still have May or June. We have our June meeting.
No, us.
Oh, okay.
But then the council has to meet.
Right.
Correct. And that they meet before us.
No, well, they do, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be what I
Correct.
said.
I got you.
The timing is on.
Mhm.
The timing
is off.
would be off.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I thought there was one more.
I mean, if you want, in my mind, if there was, do you have something off the top of your head you'd say?
It's difficult because I don't have the copy in front of me. I'm trying to.
Oh, you don't have
I'm on
it?
my phone. Yeah. I keep going back and forth on windows in my phone, and so.
Let's see,
Since I wonder if since this is our first go around at creating the Independence Day proclamation, I wonder since we look at them and we revise them and tweak them each year, I wonder if maybe this year, since we'd like to get this done for this July 4th, if we could agree that this would be sufficient for this year and then add it to next year, more of the details that we're trying to cover as far as that diverse group of people that we're we're not leaving out, but we're not including in the words this time around.
Yeah, that could work. If everyone's okay with that, we can just make a note to add that to the next time we discuss this. And or if there's language that people want to come up with and send to us for our June meeting, so that the council can decide whether to include it. That's also an option.
yeah, I don't I mean, that to me, I mean, I think generally, I guess anybody could have an opportunity to suggest something. And if we, just like you're saying, Jessica, I mean, yeah, by then before the council meeting, like you could either get it to the council or even send it to the mayor or Chris and, here's two options or something like that for the council. I don't have any problem with that myself anyway.
Christopher?
I guess a couple things. First off, just sort of a technical note on the fourth whereas. I think technically each whereas clause is only supposed to have one sentence in it. And there's two sentences in there, so that maybe should be reworded or split into two different clauses. And then I guess the only thing I might change in that one is, instead of Americans have been unwavering in their efforts to build, improve, and preserve a country of liberty, peace, blah, 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 I would do Americans have continued their efforts to build, improve, and preserve a country of liberty, peace, and opportunity for all. Because I unfortunately do think there have been some times in our history where we have wavered a bit. So that was just one thing. So I guess maybe if we split the fourth whereas clause into two different ones,
Yeah.
You could do, whereas we recognize that as imperfect people, we as a nation are also imperfect, and not all Americans have, had the freedoms that we aspire to, whereas throughout our history, Americans have continued their efforts to build, improve, and preserve a country of liberty, peace, and opportunity for all. Something like that.
Personally, I like that better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good job. Well done.
Thanks, everyone. I get to write these things all day at work. So.
Well done.
Chris, did you get all that?
I believe so. If not, I go back listen to the recording.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Van got it.
Okay.
I never knew that about whereas it's only supposed to be one sentence.
I believe so. I think, yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not. It's just, like you said, that's just being technical.
Yeah, right. It doesn't really make that big of a difference, but yes.
Okay. So then, we've got that all squared away, and we will update that and tweak that, get it where it needs to go. You can keep that copy if you want.
Can I
Yep,
say
sure.
something beyond this?
Yes.
When I was looking for this, I thought, well, why not look for all of them, the ones that we came up with? And again, there's all sorts of them out there. But I ended up at some point coming across presidential proclamations, which I wouldn't necessarily advise to use them because sometimes they're 2 or 3 pages long. But I went ahead and downloaded them. And what I was thinking is that maybe if everyone took 1 or 2, and we don't necessarily need to agree tonight, but if we took 1 or 2 and started working on a draft, that, we could kind of get ahead of things, so to speak.
Good idea.
It's just a thought.
I'd be interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Thumbs up.
So, and I went ahead and downloaded those. I could, if that made sense to people, I could just send those out. I mean, obviously, as I said, there's all sorts of stuff out there. I just ended up downloading 10 presidential or whatever it was, other ones, because they were handy, because they were all together when I thought about, suggesting this. Even finding the individual ones, that was harder to do, at least where I was looking anyway. So, but I thought, well, even with these presidential ones, people could make them shorter from that, or for that matter, they could go looking for their own as well. But in either case, if we did it, I think we could get, ahead of ourselves, not ahead of ourselves, but in front of ourselves to, have things ready more on time, I guess you could say.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Then I think the next thing on our list, were we talking any more about the city-related systematic barriers that you were looking at our last meeting, Christopher? Are we talking any more about that?
We can. Oriana is not here, so
okay.
I don't have a joint report. I have my own thoughts, but those are sometimes not things other people want to hear or should hear. So I guess it depends. Like if you want like a more like formal written report, I could do that. I just don't have it for this time because that was something I was planning to do with Oriana, and then that didn't happen. So I guess it's up to the committee. Like we can talk about it, but if there are other more time sensitive things we want to talk about tonight, and you want me to prepare something more prepared, I can do that. Jessica's making faces.
Okay. So do we want to hold that off then until our next meeting? How about we do that?
That works.
I'm going to call it a co-chair thing, and I'm just going to go, let's
Look
do
at that
it.
executive decision. Good
yeah,
stuff.
I did. Jump right in there. Okay, then we'll hold off and talk about that next time. Then our next thing on our list is to review our resolution for Inclusivity Proclamation. And other than just so we're looking at that document again and seeing what we need to tweak. Jessica, help me out here.
I don't.
Yeah, no. So there, basically, we created this in 2020 as a response to the murder of George Floyd, and we agreed to, well, the council agreed to review it annually and to approve it, like reapprove it, reaffirm. Shoot, I just, and basically this is us updating it. And I know we've talked about this before, and I thought that we had made this change and sent it to, or like suggested this change to council at some point, but I don't know what happened. One of the things on here, number 3, we had talked about not condemning people, but only acts, like things that get done, condemning racism, and then taking out and those who display racism. So it would just be condemns racism, discrimination, intolerance, bigotry, and hostility. How do people feel about that? I see a thumbs up.
Mm-hmm.
What's the thought process behind removing that? Is that like blaming people or isolating people?
Yeah, I, like based on our conversations from what I can remember, it was like people aren't racist, but people do racist things. And just not wanting to attack a person when it's not necessarily inherent to like who that person is. It's just they have more learning to do or something to that effect of like recognizing their biases or yeah, I don't know.
Van?
One of the things that and it's from a religious standpoint, I've always kind of learned, to condemn the sin, not the sinner. And that, when you was describing that, Jessica, that's kind of what I was thinking about, or it made me think of. So it to me, it's on that same order.
So to take out and those who display racism, that's what you want to do?
Mm-hmm.
So, sure.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
I had a thought on a different one. And I'm curious to hear other thoughts, but for number 7, just like changing it to say like affirms that Philomath must be a welcoming city to all. I don't know how, I just feel like that's a little more better. I was going to say something
Definitely.
else with you, but yes.
Agreed, that is more better.
Thank you. That's words, folks. That's eloquence.
Must be.
I mean, even the very first whereas says Philomath strives to be a city. It's not saying that it already is. So I think that's in keeping with that.
I guess one other just like overarching thought I had on this, and I don't know if this is the time to address it, is just the proclamation kind of, and I understand it given the context of when it was written, in the midst of George Floyd and Black Lives Matter. It seems a little odd that like some of the whatever numbers, paragraphs specifically talk about racism, and some talk about racism, bigotry, sexism, blah, blah, blah. And it's a little weird that like some do and some don't. Like in number 9, why are we only committing to examining racism within our city and making sure city staff, are having training to eliminate racism? Like, I think that's great. But then in, number 3 and other ones, and number 7, we talk about all different types of discriminations. Like, why are we not committing to ending those types of discrimination within our city? And, making sure that we are taking training on those types of discrimination. And again, I get in the context of 2020 why that was written that way, but since we're updating it, it's just something that I think stood out to me a little bit. Like, yes, I'm totally committed to ending racism in our city. I'm also committed to ending sexism and bigotry and religious discrimination and, all types of things. And I just think maybe we should reflect that, but I'm curious to hear what the rest of the group thinks.
I guess I would agree with the thought. I mean, as an inclusivity committee, and we're in this resolution proclaiming inclusivity. I mean, we've obviously talked a lot about other types of discriminations and such. So I guess it does make sense to maybe work on broadening this document. Rose and now Jessica.
What about instead of racism, commits to examining and eliminating all forms of discrimination within our city government, and city leadership? Because it's good that we're examining it, but if we're not trying to oust it.
We're just going to look at it, commission a study, hire some consultants, form a work group.
Chequity.
Yeah.
Which one was this again, Rose? Which number?
Number 9.
Number 9.
Mm-hmm.
Can you repeat what you said one more time, please?
Commits to examining and eliminating all forms of discrimination. And Mana, you're fine. In our city government and leadership. Her ball's under the couch. She's dying.
Thank you. I like it. And then if I could, there was another one.
Oh, in the second sentence, it says racism again. Maybe we should change that to discrimination in number 9. Eliminating. Mm-hmm. I mean, is that repeating? I guess that's when we're saying eliminating.
Oh, right. Discrimination. Just put discrimination there.
What if it was commits to examining all forms of discrimination within our city government, and city leadership? And then in the second sentence, and eliminating discrimination within our city.
Yeah.
Like the first sentence, all forms, and then shorten it in the second sentence.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Sounds good.
A lot of good words coming out of this group tonight.
Does, kind of on that theme, number 3 through 6, and I don't have an answer, but they are all to do with racism. I mean, well, 6 I guess isn't, but I mean it has to do with a result of racism, an organization being developed, or I don't know what the right word, but anyway, I guess what I was trying to say was these are all talking about racism, I guess 3 through 5 anyway, is there any way to change that? I like I say, I don't have an answer. I was just thinking that's kind of goes along with the rest of the discussion we're having.
I think it's okay to have racism in here, specifically listed, especially, denouncing violence against people of color, or, maybe broadening that, frankly, I don't know.
Well, that's what yeah, that's kind of what I was going, like I say, I didn't have words for it, but.
Are you thinking along the lines of like including other groups that are typically overlooked when addressing violence or bias?
Yeah, right.
Right.
I'm wondering about combining 3 and 5 and saying condemning and denouncing violence. I mean, it feels like some of these can be combined and broadened. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And like I say, I just didn't have words. So.
Without making any of these less important.
Rose has her hand up.
Rose?
I think it may flow easier. I think it's very possible that we could take that portion out, but I think because of the history of our country, the reason this document was created, I think that specificity is important, and I would vote to keep it in.
Oh, I wasn't meaning take it out.
The denounces violence against people of color is the one that I'm mostly concerned about us losing. I definitely think that if we want to expand on groups, that typically face those kind of problems, I think that would be great, but I wouldn't support taking out the specificity of people of color.
Right, I'm not suggesting that either.
Okay.
I don't want to do that.
But in that respect to that, if we was able to come up with verbiage, that I'll throw out LGBTQ, whatever else form of discrimination that we can think of. If we mention all those and say we don't want discrimination, intolerance, bigotry, or hostility toward any of these groups, you would still want to have denounce violence against people of color, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what I was thinking of was what I just sort of said. But like I say, I'm not good at coming up with words.
Chris?
If I just recommend, it sounds like everybody's on the same page and concept, but it's going to take all night to wordsmith all of these. So maybe if the committee wants to assign somebody to look at this through that lens of broadening the protections or broadening the scope of what we're looking at, and then just bring that back. Like you could email it to me and I could share it with everybody and take individual feedback. Because really we are kind of down to getting this in front of the city council for the June meeting. Otherwise we could just have somebody do some corrections and bring it back to this group. We're not gonna have time for that. But I think, if someone wants to volunteer to look at it, make those changes, send it to me, then I'm happy to share it out with the rest of the group and get feedback from individuals. I'm just trying to save a little bit of time tonight.
Mm-hmm. Question, is it the June meeting? Because I thought we did it in August originally. Like I know that it says June on here, but I wasn't sure if that was set in stone.
We're updating it. We can amend it to just say annually, but it does say June right now.
Is there a reason to wait? Jessica?
Oh, it was just so that if we wanted to discuss this more at the next meeting, as opposed to just sending and hoping that whatever we send isn't necessarily clashing with each other's suggestions or anything like that.
It does say
I
June.
personally don't mind either way, so I don't know what people, if people feel like we could do this really quickly or not.
I see what you.
I think when we're going to try and identify groups, it's not something that we should try and rush. So could we table this suggestion of expanding those groups to next year's view, looking at it, and then work on it in the year that we have to do that?
That's
Sure, that sounds like a good plan. Go ahead.
And then are you suggesting for this year to just take out that one sentence for number 3 and then go as is on this?
And change the words in number 9. For race
And
and
number
to
7.
all forms of discrimination.
and 7.
And 7
7.
must be A, yep.
My laptop is dying. Chris, can you let my phone into the meeting?
Yeah, you're in.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
One of them.
It looks like you have electricity there.
Yeah, I just don't have my laptop charger. It's a long story. We're doing great today.
That so that sounds great to me.
Yeah,
Rose, that's a good
fine with
solution.
me.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
What about number 2?
2.
So I had 3, 7, 4, or excuse me, 3, 7, 9, 2.
I think we were
The 2 was
just
to
gonna,
replace the second reference to include discrimination.
no, I thought
That was in number 9.
I think leaving 2 the same for right now.
I don't think we said anything about number 2.
No.
You might be referencing the second sentence in number 9.
Number 9?
Yeah, that's what he was doing.
Yeah. So both changes in number 9 that we talked about?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's fine with me as the one that brought up that other stuff.
Okay.
Jessica, if you could try and dig deep into your memory bank, I believe we had that conversation. We were writing the proclamation about what about this group? What about this group kind of thing. Do you remember that?
I do, and I remember the focus wanting to be specifically with the context of George Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
Wait, what's still going on?
I think wanting that emphasis, but then also recognizing that the intersectionality of everything and how and wanting to still include those other demographics as best as possible without taking away from, like you had said before, taking away from the main thing, words.
Okay. So we'll get that all rewritten and then we'll go with that. Then the other thing I had on my list was way back in the beginning of our first meeting this year, we talked a little bit about a DEI reading library. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, really quickly. I don't know if Chris saw that Christopher isn't here, so I don't know if he's in the waiting room.
Okay.
He's not. I'm looking for him.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Well, he was saying hook you up to the phone.
He was though, and then he disappeared.
Okay.
Still need to die.
Okay. Should I just talk about that, or should you want me to put that on the table? Okay. So we were talking a little bit about a reading library, and I've been trying to figure. I was thinking it would be nice to try to start accumulating some books for us to read and maybe give summaries, or find a way to create this DEI library, and possibly where to have it, whether it's over at our local library or maybe here in the City Hall office there somewhere tucked on a shelf, or something that we have access to different books that we can read to help us broaden our learning. So, Rose?
Are you talking about physical books or
Yeah.
more digital?
Yeah, I'm talking about physical books.
Okay. I'm wondering if the Philomath Library would want to partner with us, because I'm assuming they have some of those books or could order those books, and we can utilize our public library system.
Okay, so would that just be a matter of just going over and discussing it with them and seeing what they think?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm even thinking, because people have Kindles, people read audiobooks.
Okay.
What if instead of supplying the actual physical copy of the book, we put a list on the inclusivity page on the web page of
Okay.
like, well, want to learn more? These are the suggested books. And maybe put a little blurb about how these are available at Philomath Library.
Okay, I like that idea. Thank you.
And then we're not responsible for books that could get lost or damaged and having to manage that. And we would just have a suggested list of where to direct people to get more info.
Cool, I like that idea. Thank you.
Well, I like that idea also, but I guess it would make sense for us, I mean, to come up with that list.
Mhm.
And maybe, I don't know, maybe for the next meeting or something like that, and review it and say, yeah, this is the ones we'll do, or whatever.
Okay.
I don't know. I suppose there's hundreds of thousands of
Yes.
books.
There are
So
many.
how you decide
Well,
what the list is, I don't know.
and I mean, as somebody who uses the library, they do have sections that are topical like that, so.
Okay.
Oh,
It's-
okay.
Okay, good.
They might already have some.
Yeah, definitely already have some. So
Okay,
I
cool.
think it's just worth a little conversation with them.
Okay.
To see.
Okay. I will do that
Our libraries.
after our next meeting. I can jump on that. Rose?
I'm wondering, before we start looking for resources and books, we should talk about developing maybe a framework of a vetting process, like the authors that we're trying to highlight. I mean, I know there's like White Fragility is a really popular book, but there's also a lot of books that are written by people of color, people that may not get the same mainstream attention. So I'm wondering if we are intentional about the way that we're vetting the books that we are suggesting, instead of just having like a catch-all book, because there is so many books and education and literature out there. Maybe we could be more conscious of like the vetting process of what we're promoting.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Thank you. Okay.
Christopher has his hand.
Christopher Fresno.
Christopher has his hand.
Christopher. Oh, there's your hand. I see you.
I just was I popped out for a second. I just wanted to make sure I was understanding. We're wanting to work with the library to have sort of a reading list for what and for when?
Well, in our first meeting, we talked a little bit about a DEI library, or a resource library, for us to kind of look into doing some extra, just learning about topics that maybe we might not be familiar with. So I was thinking about that over the month, and was wondering if maybe, how to get that started, or how to work on that. So we talked a little bit about talking to the library and seeing what they can do with us, for us. And then we were also just talking about the vetting process to make sure that we're kind of choosing materials or people, authors that would benefit us most in our readings.
And also Rose also suggested maybe having in our inclusivity page, maybe come up with a list that people could either go to the library or get on their Kindle and read, either way.
Okay, yeah, that sounds cool. I guess I would love to just chat with the library and see, because I'm sure they also take many of the things Rose was talking about into consideration when they make their sort of, sections and their reading lists and everything. So It would be interesting to see sort of where they're at already. And if you want any assistance chatting with them, let me know.
Okay, sounds good.
Happy to do that.
Jane, are you going to take the lead on that, or would you like us to all kind of come back to June's meeting with some ideas of a framework for vetting and maybe book suggestions?
Let's see if we can come back to it in June, only because I'm not going to be here to be trying to get any research or anything done. I'll be gone the whole month, so I won't be able to kind of do that. But we can certainly kind of come up with some more information for June, and then we can take it on then. That's okay?
But for all of us.
Yes.
And is it okay if I just email Ashley at the library just to sort of see where they're at?
Sure. Yes, thank you.
Cool.
Thank you. Okay. Well, and I think with that said, we can conclude our meeting tonight. Is that, no? Oops, I see a no. Nope.
No, we just, are there other things that we would like to talk about at our June meeting? And also we need a co-chair if possible, if people are interested. And ideally it'd be nice to have someone for 3 months, but I know Jane, if you're still, is there anyone who's interested in 3 months? If not, is there someone interested in 1 month?
As nervous as I get about these things, if somebody can pick up the ball for next month, I can take the next 2 months after that, if that's okay. Somebody can just roll with June. I can take July and August. I'm okay with doing that.
Unless someone wants the 3 months.
Unless somebody wants the 3 months. Van?
Well, I mean, I did it last year once, but I guess where I'm not technically a member,
it doesn't matter.
I've not felt like I necessarily should. And then actually, so I was sitting here thinking, well, maybe I ought to apply.
There's an opening.
Oh, there's an opening?
I believe there's 2 openings.
Okay, I'll do it next month.
I'd have to do the math.
Yeah. So Van's got next month for us.
Cool.
If you get an application in before the
Sounds good.
council meeting, the city council can approve them at their meeting.
To clarify, anyone is available or is allowed to be co-chair. They don't have to be an official committee member.
No, well, I know that's you let me do it everybody let me here last time because nobody else wanted to, but yeah.
To clarify, Van, did you want the 1 month and then see how things go, or did you want the 3?
Although Jane, she was telling me before we started that she loves doing it.
Yeah, you're doing
Yes, Jessica knows better.
No, she
She
really
watches
did
me
tell
sweat in our little Zoom meetings.
I would be
You
happy.
do great, Jane.
I'll do it 3 months.
Thank you. Thank you.
3 months?
Pick it up the
Okay.
next month after that, but we'll see how that rolls. Anyway.
Cool.
Okay.
And then topics for the meeting, because so far it looks like all we have is the library resources, and then I think we'll have someone, whatever the next month is, I can't remember. I'm looking at the agenda now. Or August. What is September?
Or August.
No, this is August. Oh, August we have nothing.
Oh, August.
I thought
the one we
August-
had nothing. Okay, you might be right.
I thought August was the Inclusivity Proclamation, which was why I was like, oh yeah, we should do that now ahead of time. But oh yeah, and revisiting the systemic barriers with whatever Christopher has, and if anyone else wants to help him with that. National Hispanic Latino Heritage Month is September.
Okay, September.
So we could get a jump start on that, or
Yeah.
Anyway.
And actually, this this eventual business that's been on our calendar forever, this proclamation and resolution procedures that I had put together last fall, we may not need that where we've come up with what we've started doing, in my mind. I mean, it could be just that we know we need to get a couple of months ahead, and that's all we just do it type of thing. So I'll look back at it. How about if I look back at that and compared to what we're doing now, it just off the top of my head, it seems like we may not even need to do that. So I'll look at that and make a suggestion too at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Rose has a hand.
Rose? Thank you, those little hands.
Just thinking about how we had another committee member resign. We have 2 open spots. We struggled to get a quorum. I'm wondering if focusing a portion of our agenda or a brain power towards recruitment, community outreach, publicizing the Inclusivity Committee a little bit more, thinking strategy-wise, how we can tell more people that this group exists and what we're trying to do.
We can do that at the Pride event too, right?
Oh yeah. Tell everybody.
Who resigned?
Oriana.
But I was just hoping it could get added to the agenda either next
Yeah,
month or the month
agreed.
after,
Yes,
in the future.
Agree. Yes,
Yes.
agree with that also.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Okay,
Sounds good. Thank you.
alrighty. So now, are we officially finished for tonight?
Can I ask an unrelated question?
Yes.
Just putting it out there. If anyone really loves libraries, the Friends of the Library, I think, is looking for a Philomath person on their board. So if anyone lives in Philomath and loves supporting libraries, let me know. Just since we were talking about libraries, I thought I might make a plug.
You can add another board, but I would
I
be
am not on that board, hence why I'm trying to find someone to do it. But yes, so just putting, and now it's recorded too. So any community members watching this, if that stands out to you too, hit me up. But yes, now I'll be quiet.
Was you saying that loudly enough?
I said I would be interested in that, Christopher.
Was that, wait, was that a yes or
Yeah, no, it's
okay,
yes,
great.
I would
I
be.
couldn't tell if you said you would or wouldn't.
I would.
Okay.
Why would I tell you if I wouldn't be interested? That would be weird, right?
I feel like you tell me that a lot, to be fair.
That is true. I do say that. Just also, though, back to the agenda for next, aren't we going to have to talk about the trainings again, too?
No.
I sure hope not.
Okay, I hope not, too, but it feels like we left that open so that there wasn't going to just be one. We were going to try to spend the money and then maybe bring speakers here, or, I mean, like, kind of develop a plan.
Oh, going forward.
Going forward, it feels like that. We were going to do that. Eventual business, maybe we could add that.
Yeah, I would.
Okay. As in, like, eventually getting more information from the NAACP, Jason Dorsett, of figuring out inviting speakers for different,
Yes.
similar to the.
So that it's ongoing.
Okay.
And
Cool.
so that community and whoever wants to attend could attend.
Different learning opportunities.
Yes, those are the words.
Thank you.
Like you, I've had a long day of trying to figure out words. So, but yes, that's what I think would be important to the community, to share more information on how to unlearn some of the things that maybe people have learned. So
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. So with that, I have our quote of the meeting. Diversity is not how we differ. Diversity is about embracing one another's uniqueness. And that was written by Ola Joseph, a Nigerian-born empowerment speaker and author. That comes along with tonight's little treat. Sorry, guys. Anyway.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure this is the best co-chair we've ever had. So.
Yeah.
You're awesome, Jane.
Okay, I quit.
Thank you. Thank you for that. But
This
you know,
is the standard. You're bringing us little mini candy bars.
This is where the bar is. Candy.
Yeah.
anyway,
Be prepared, man.
that helps take my nervousness away. Anyway, I guess we're finished then for tonight. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you all for
Thank you.
being here.